So what's scheduled for today is akin to affectionate breathing. So I sort of renamed it, or breath with compassion, or breathing with compassion. It's based on the affectionate breathing exercise, MSC exercise. It's a little different. And then what I send out, the email I send out this week, I'll have a link to an article that someone did on sort of the history of the breath from different cultures. And there's a wonderful quote from the Zulu tradition that I'll include in that. And they truly value the breath and the connection of the breath between people, and how we come to be with each other in that connection, and how we come into being as a result of being with other people. It's a wonderful quote. So, and the article goes into, it's a research article, so there's no pictures, right? It's kind of boring, but it's goes into the different traditions, qigong, where the breath is very important, and the Chinese traditions, tai chi. So so it kind of helps expand our idea of what the the breath really is. You know, we the way our brain works, when we have something that's familiar, something we do over and over again, we lose our awareness of it. It becomes a habit. It's like getting into our car or something. We just get in, we do all this stuff sort of automatically because we've done it time and time again. And it's the same thing with our thoughts and feelings. Certain person comes up in our mind that questionable, and then we think a negative thought, and then let it go. And then 10 minutes later or a day or two later it comes up again. We do the same thing. So much of our activity is composed of habits. And the problem is, the benefit is this, is that when we develop a routine that makes it very energy efficient. In other words, when we get into the car, we don't have to learn how to drive it all over again. We get on a bicycle, we don't have to learn how to ride the bicycle all over again. The downside is, though, that with a lot of things in our lives, that we just take things for granted. And then we lose our awareness of what's really going on. We lose the presence of mind, and life becomes dull and difficult. And so when we liven that back up with mindfulness and compassion, we get to a point where we can see the ordinary afresh. And when doing gratitude lists, actually that might be something good we could talk about at some point. I'll mention it today, and maybe I'll go into it in detail a little, subsequent modules. But a gratitude list is super important. I used to think it was just kind of nice, and but the research on it is really remarkable. Because what it does is, throughout the day, we're going through our habitual patterns, we're reacting in our normal ways to our ordinary life. And when we do a gratitude list, we begin to discover that there are moments throughout the day where something really nice happened. It may only last a second or two, or 4 or 5 seconds. And but those are really kind of special moments somehow. Like one day I was driving along on the highway, which I don't particularly like this highway, this highway, the drivers are particularly inconsiderate. But I was on this highway and I was thinking about the world and all that, and it's like all of a sudden off to my right was this sunrise, and just at that moment the clouds parted enough for the sunlight to hit my face. I felt this warmth on my face. I was just like, and 3 seconds later it was gone because, I got past buildings and stuff like that. But it was wonderful. It was just like, hey, wait a minute, the sun's still shining. And those kind of things happen to us all the time. And we don't really, we go, oh, that's nice, and move on. So we really stop to appreciate them. But that's, again, our habitual patterns, the momentum of the day. Oh, I've got to get to work, or I've got to hurry up and eat lunch, or I have to call so-and-so. And so a nice thing happens, you go, oh, that's nice. And we go about with a sort of momentum of our to-do list. But when we pause, and we say, okay, what was special about the last 24 hours? So let me back up a second. There are a lot of directions about how to do gratitude lists, but the one that I favor is where we never put the same thing down twice, and that the gratitude list is goes back 24 hours. So every day is another 24 hours, and and we take a look at the things that have happened, that it may be with family or with our pets or friends or whatever, but it's something special, something new that happens. Or like I was having a bad day and my friend called, or something like that. And it was really nice, and we talked for a while. It was very helpful. Gratitude. Or, going along throughout the day and going, oh, and I need to pay my such and such a bill. And go online with it. Oh, I already paid it. So whatever it may be, but those little moments are just precious, and they're like little pearls throughout the day. And when we write in gratitude lists, we get into the habit of appreciating those, and that really changes our perspective. And particularly, and it's helpful to sort of as a first aid measure too, because let's say we're having a really hard day and we're just, all these thoughts and emotions are rattling around our brain, and we sit down and write a gratitude list. And again, they're not the general things like I'm grateful for my family, or I'm grateful for my spouse or a partner or whatever. And it's about, okay, what am I grateful for today? Well, and we can write down, I had a really good breakfast today. That was really enjoyable. And then write down 5 things, daily basis, like that. And it can bring us into a whole different frame of mind. If our frame of mind is negative, we can really switch it to something positive. So there's a book that I've mentioned before called The Gratitude Project. So the exercise we're going to be doing today is akin to that, and that we'll be taking something that we do all the time without even thinking about it, breathing, and bringing compassion into the process. Now, I figure most of you all have, if not everybody, has done this exercise before, but we'll see what we can do to bring a new perspective or a new vision to it. Because as I've said before, it's my belief that compassion is an infinite resource, is unlimited. So every time we bring compassion, it really does bring something new. So we'll see what we can do. So finding a comfortable spot, position, place, settling into your place in the world at the moment. And settling into this position where the body can remain completely still and comfortable. And we'll begin. And following the sound of the bell into stillness. And settling down into the body. Getting a view of the body as a whole. Sitting in whatever position you're in. Points of contact with the chair or the floor. Getting a sense of the body being here. And allowing you to be here, present. Our container or vehicle. And just settling in for the moment. And when a thought or feeling arises, simply recognizing, releasing, and returning to the present moment. Allowing everything to settle as best you can. And settling into the stillness. Even though you can probably still feel the heartbeat and the rhythm of the breath. And each time a thought or a feeling arises, simply recognizing it and releasing it and letting it pass on through, returning to this present moment. And bringing our awareness to the breath. And if this is difficult for you from trauma or from childhood asthma or something, simply continue to use the physical body as the holder of the present moment. and just observing the body all by itself, breath by breath. The body finding its own pace and rhythm. And notice, if you can, whatever depth you're breathing to at the moment. Whether it's shallow in just the upper lobe, or a little deeper at the middle lobe, or all the way down to the lower lobe of the lungs. And if your breath stops at the upper or the middle lobe, seeing if you can bring it all the way down to the bottom of the lungs. And this doesn't have to be done forcibly. Simply relaxing and expanding the diaphragm will bring the air all the way in and all the way down. And perhaps be aware of the way your body is breathing. Adjustments that your body may be making, or how it's a smooth, even pace, whatever that pace may be. And when thoughts arise, simply recognizing, releasing, and returning. And allowing our awareness to be with the breath. Observation of the breath. With the rhythm of the breath. With the motion of the torso, the belly, the diaphragm, the ribs expanding, contracting. Waves of expansion and letting go. Noticing that when we breathe out, we just let go. Allowing us to rest in this present moment. Becoming aware that in general, we could always use some compassion. That there is almost always a bit of a need for compassion. And so considering, not thinking about anything in particular, but thinking about oneself in general, one's whole life in general, one's whole being in general, and knowing that there may be many regions of your life in need of compassion, without thinking about the particulars, realizing that we have a general need for compassion. Small or large, few or many. But getting a sense of the whole. And opening to the idea of receiving compassion. On the inexhaustible well, the wellspring of compassion. And welcoming, opening the door, or simply just receiving. Riding on the breath. As if the breath itself is bringing this compassion in. And bringing this compassion in and letting it suffuse into your body through the lungs. And after the exhale, the new breath brings in more compassion. And feeling our body infused with this caring, this deep, unconditional caring. With each breath, more compassion. Suffusing into our body. Breath goes out to bring in more compassion. And allowing this compassion, this warmth, this richness to absorb every aspect of the body, to our awareness, to our emotions. Simply filling us up where it is needed, where there is a space, a welcoming space. And the more we welcome, the more we fill up. Filling us up like the way water quenches a thirsty person. Allowing this caring into every tiny space. And realizing this valuable resource is available to us at any time. Accepting the compassion in ourselves just as we are. That is enough. And allowing the fullness set in and absorb and saturate the body, heart and mind, the heart-mind. So that in a moment when the bell rings again, you can bring this with you as you go about your day. And come back to it at any time.